There's no specific Revit content delivered for class this week. Utilize it as valuable time allocation to catch up on everything delivered up to this point, as the workshops only ramp up from here. Assessment Task 5 is a Digital Technologies PowerPoint presentation. The assessment brief is the students are to select and research a technology or concept from the list provided. Then, using the PowerPoint template available on Student Web, students are to create a presentation responding and addressing to the prescribed criteria, which I'll go through shortly. First of all, the list of technologies and concepts are building information modeling, point cloud and LiDAR scanning, the Victorian Digital Asset Strategy, clash detection, CDE or a common data environment, digital twin concepts, 4D and 5D BIM, so that's time, 4D, 5D is cost, BIM, AIMS or Asset Information Management System, 360-degree photogrammetry, digital engineering, GIS or Geographical Information Systems, and augmented reality as it pertains to design and construction. You're to select one of the topics from the list provided. However, you must get approval by me before moving on and starting your research. This is to ensure we don't have double ups of selected topics or technologies within a class, so that when you present, there's a decent variety for everyone to learn from. You'll then go off and research your topic in great detail, and then respond to the prescribed criteria that's set out in the PowerPoint template, which you will use that's being provided to you. It will serve as a good guide. You'll then present the PowerPoint to the class, which will be a maximum of about 15 minutes, and then we can have some question or discussion time thereafter. And trust me, that 15 minutes will go by very quickly in regards to these topics. These are massive, massive topics with a wealth of information on each. And then in terms of deliverables, you'll submit your PowerPoint file to Student Web in the relevant Dropbox, and the assessment is due on the 15th of the 9th, which is 5 weeks or 35 days from the date of issue. So in other words, it's the last class for term 3. On Student Web, you'll find this PowerPoint presentation for download, and it is just a template file for you to utilize and to help guide you through. It also holds, each slide holds the criteria that you must fulfill and respond to in this assignment. So starting off with our cover sheet, Assessment Task 5, Digital Technologies presentation, and then your chosen topic inserted. The presentation is intended for you to modify and customize, so everything here can be selected and deleted, rearranged, however you may see fit. It's just here as an example and to give you some structure and guidance. That way you can focus more on the actual research and content of your presentation rather than worrying about the structure of the presentation. So the first criteria that has to be fulfilled is pretty simple. Define the technology or concept. What exactly is it? The second one is who uses it and where they use it. So, where is it commonly used? This is pertaining to, firstly, industry. So think outside architectural building design, which is what you're studying, but think outside of that. Think of rail, think of oil and gas, think of government. And then think of the application as well. Is it used by design consultants? Is it used by subcontractors and head contractors? Is it used by operations and facility management teams, or for data analytics and data harvesting? And then who uses these technologies or concepts? So more on a job description or a position description component. So is it designers? Is it engineers? Owners, operators? Is it an entire industry? Manufacturing, automotive, defense, aerospace, rocketry. A lot of these platforms and concepts that are listed there go far beyond just the architectural environment. Next up is the associated softwares or tools. So list and denote and discuss what softwares or hardware tools are associated to this concept. So not every one of these are going to have softwares. They might be more hardware specific, and vice versa. Some may not have any specifically, but they may relate to certain softwares that are used in conjunction with this concept. So be sure to think outside the box there. And then it's about benefits and then risks or shortfalls. So the benefits are about What can you identify? Either what have you researched that are the benefits to this system or to this technology or concept, and likewise, what are the shortfalls? And go beyond what you're just researching and think about them yourself, and think about them beyond just, let's say, software does this, software does not do this, hardware does this, hardware does not do this or does do this. Think about it like, does it add cost? Does it save cost? Does it add time? Does it reduce occupational health and risk issues on site? Does it save the client time, or is it overly confusing and too mature for the industry as it currently stands? Is it not applicable to building, but because it's only applicable to rail? That's what I mean by benefits and shortfalls. And then finally, you're to present at least one case study where this technology or concept has been used on a real life project. So in researching and presenting that, you want to address the who, what, where, when, the how, and then also the outcome and lessons learned, including any benefits and shortfalls that the project found as well. All of the technologies and concepts listed will have many, many case studies and tons of content that you can research up on. So the final slide is just a tip on good PowerPoint presentations, and as it says in big bold red letters, you delete this slide before submitting. But a couple of rules of thumb that can really help you here. Number one, have one image per slide. I cannot stress that enough. You do not want to have multiple small images on your PowerPoint slides. One image per slide, either a half a page or a full page image is generally good. If you want to use more than one image, absolutely feel free to, but put it on another slide and keep cycling through slides, and that sort of keeps people interested. But because it's the only thing you're showing on the screen, you're really directing your audience on what they're paying attention to. So be careful, be thoughtful about the images you're putting up as well, because it's the only thing that we can see as your audience. So you want it to be thoughtful and want it to be relatable to what you're speaking about. Next, use dot points. Never use big body text on PowerPoints. It just never works. Headings should be at least 33 point, and body text should be at least 18 point. When you use this PowerPoint presentation, it's already set up like that for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Use as little text as possible on your slides. That kind of goes without saying, and that relates to the dot points as well. You do not want big blobs of text. You want to minimize that text as much as possible. Next, you want to standardize your position, colors, and styles, and that's probably something that is a little bit more subliminal, but really makes a big difference. And then, which goes with the next one, using colors that contrast and complement. If you look at some of the presentations that I've put up online, whether it be Boxhill or otherwise, I usually choose 2 or 3 color combinations and stick with it. And even the images I choose have those tonalities that are sort of baked into it by default. And you really want to be very thoughtful the way that you construct a PowerPoint in terms of the way it appears, the animations that you use. Usually just a simple fade out animation is enough. And then nice strong images or diagrams or pictographs that really drive home the point that you're trying to make. Simplicity is king with a PowerPoint because it's there to complement what you say, which leads on to the final point, which is include only necessary information and talk to fill in the context, never read off the slides, which is exactly what I just did in that last point. But what I am getting at is that, for instance, the first point there was use one image per slide. And then I started speaking and elaborating further on that point. I didn't write out everything verbatim of what I said following that dot point. That's not good practice. So you want to just have the dot points and the text to sort of guide you in what your next talking point is. And then even better is that when you have those dot points, you may end up switching slides as you go through that shows the next full image. Then the next slide will be the next dot point and an image. Then you click the next slide and it's another full screen image, and you continue to talk on. Again, remember that from an audience point of view, we're listening and looking at you and just looking at the PowerPoint, or sometimes you're just looking at the PowerPoint and listening to the presenter. You're not looking actively at the presenter. So you want to make sure that that PowerPoint is got as little text as possible. It's just got the high or the most important components in dot point form or some sort of diagram or pictogram, and the image is the most prominent thing on the screen. Again, you don't want to just be reading off a PowerPoint in big bulk text. We all know what those PowerPoint presentations are like. And then the link below has some really great tips, much more elaborate, both in terms of presentation and structure, as well, and by presentation I mean PowerPoint and structure, as well as the physical presentation itself. Remember that this is a 15-minute PowerPoint presentation discussion, and it is an open discussion. It's not like we're going to sit there in silence. I really want everyone to engage in the conversation, because it should be quite an eye-opening and interesting assignment where we really learn about the capabilities that are out there of these technologies. There is a wealth of information and a wealth of technologies that are used in the built environment that we can learn from and utilize and really broaden the horizons and opportunities for what lays out there for you beyond this course.